We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Can we touch on your outfit, big guy? You make fun of me all the time for my style. And it's like, that fucking Blues Clues striped sweater. I don't know if I can get on board. Quinn, can I get a take? What's your take on Renner's outfit?
I mean, it's not too dissimilar from something that I would wear. I mean, I have that Modelo fleece that I rock all the time.
I like the
stripes
Modelo
similar
fleece
to that, but it's a little bit different color. But I wouldn't consider it Blues Clues. It's a very the long sleeve sweatshirt with the shorts is a very like March, April in Ohio type fit.
So I woke up today. First day I wore shorts all year long. I was like, I'm gonna do it, and then I get made fun of for looking.
I'm gonna reel it back.
Pretty fine.
I'm gonna reel it back because I often don't make comments on what people wear because I don't have a leg to stand on. Yeah. And I'm gonna reel this one back. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's a fucking sick ass sweater, dude. I don't know.
That's just
all right. I'm out. That's on me. That's on me. Let's jump into some handful of people in the YouTube comments, and rightfully so, have said, why aren't they bringing up the Deshaun Watson allegations? That's one of the biggest stories in the NFL, and I think we'd be remiss not to bring it up. And I know, Mike, you wanted to touch on these things first.
Yes, because obviously it's a huge thing, and honestly, I don't think he's getting traded at this point. I think any other NFL team would be idiotic to try to make a move at this point with how serious these allegations are and with how many there are at this point. Was it 22 now they're up to in multiple different cities even? Hard to give him the reasonable doubt at that point in terms of like, oh, this is just a money grab. This is just whatever. These are legitimate allegations at that point that you have to take seriously. I don't care who you are at this point. And I had a few different takes on this. I'll say the one take is that it's okay not to have a take on something this serious. It's okay not to jump to an opinion based off of limited information. I know in today's news cycle, everyone wants to be first to everything, first to the right answer, first to figure something out. It's okay to sit back and say, I'll wait for more information. I'll wait for things to play. You do not have to immediately jump to one person's side or the other or an opinion on something, especially, again, when it's as serious and as disgusting in nature as these allegations were. And there are two things I've seen regularly on the whole Deshaun Watson saga. One being that Houston ownership could be involved in this because obviously Tony Busby, the lawyer in Houston, has said in an Instagram post that he's neighbors with Cal McNair, I guess. I think he put neighbors as in like he also lives in Houston maybe, but that would be the dumbest thing Houston ownership could do. There's no sort of logical reasoning. Now that doesn't obviously stop what Houston front office has done. They maybe haven't been making the most logical choices, but nothing about this would help them as a franchise. This would only hurt them. So the fact that they could be involved, completely idiotic. And then the other sort of argument I've seen is that Deshaun Watson could get anyone, or a guy in his stature could get anyone. So why would he do things like this? That's not a logical conclusion to that you can get anyone. That almost, in my eyes, would make someone more likely, because someone who can get anyone is not used to hearing no, is not used to being told that they can't get what they want. And so when they don't, they're not always going to accept that. So that to me is not an argument against, not an argument for Deshaun Watson in this case. So before you go out and say such things like that, I would just recommend not having a take.
I mean, in a world where Armie Hammer, the celebrity that played the rowers and
Winklevoss twins,
the Winklevoss twins and the Social Network, is eating human beings. I mean, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter your status. Doesn't matter anything.
Yeah, I've seen college athletes at bars. Like, the entitlement can be a real thing.
I mean, I think I tweeted it out early. It's like if you have Houston Texans season ticket holder or the team's logo as your profile picture on Twitter, just don't tweet. You don't have to do this. You don't have to have you don't have to go Roddy White with it and undying support for Deshaun Watson despite having no real understanding of what's going on here. 16 different civil lawsuits. Okay. Civil lawsuits accusing of sexual misconduct. That's real. Those are real. Those are real people with those civil lawsuits. Don't fuck around. You don't have to tweet. You don't have to have a take. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I agree with that. Some of these arguments in favor of Deshaun Watson, like he's a star, he could get whatever he wants, or Houston's management or Houston's front office trying to get involved. Just stop. Stop. Just take the tinfoil hat off and throw it away because this is bigger than you, way bigger than you. It's like 16 people bigger than you. I definitely think you hit the nail on the head about not having a take on the Deshaun Watson stuff. We'll see how it plays out. Obviously, it's freaking insane. It's stuff that we're going to have to, as we get more information, obviously comment on and see where it goes. With that being said, that was a dark start. Let's get to something lighter. Let's get to the listener mailbag where we are only about 120 questions away from being caught up with the Americans. Then we're about 150 questions out being caught up with the internationals. We're going to do an international mailbag, maybe a series of international mailbags once we get caught up. What's great, though, is if, say, we do get caught up with the United States, the people who love American football here in the States, we can always jump over to the international. It's like, hey, we don't have enough questions from Americans. Yeah. We're going over to Ireland, Brazil, Portugal. We got
take a trip.
Let's take a trip. Let's take a trip. All right, let's start now.
I just got my passport. So.
Really?
Yeah, on Monday.
So we can actually do it now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, let's now go ahead and jump into the listener mailbag. This first one is from Duck Bias. Hey guys, what type of pick / process would you look at as a bad first round for my beloved Eagles?
Drafting Najee Harris, 1. 2, but a more realistic one, I think a bad pick process would be having Justin Fields, Trey Lance, one of those top group of guys fall to you and then passing on them. I think at the quarterback position in the NFL, you have to seriously evaluate any incremental increase you can make at that position is so much more valuable than any other player you could get at any other position.
And that's not even, that shouldn't be that hard to convince people of.
And so if you think that those guys, and I think everyone and their mother thinks that Justin Fields and Trey Lance are better prospects than Jalen Hurts. If you think that, and Jalen Hurts did nothing as a rookie to convince you otherwise, then you do it because, again, that incremental change, so much more valuable than whatever, Devontae Smith, whoever they're going to.
I highly doubt, knowing that the Eagles would take a quarterback there at 6. I think they would, especially with Justin Fields or Trey Lance, or even if Zach Wilson does fall, say Fields and Lance go earlier. I think they would sprint the card in for a quarterback, one of those big 4. But that's why I think the Cincinnati Bengals sitting at 5 and the Miami Dolphins sitting at 3, two teams with second-year quarterbacks on the roster expected to start, will be big trade down opportunities. And the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons is another piece there as well. I think you're going to see teams look to come up, and it'll be interesting to see what the price ultimately is. Because, say the Miami Dolphins want X to go up to 3, but so the Falcons want 0.8X. I mean, obviously using percentages and those things. You could see teams jump for different spots. It could be an all-out bidding war to go trade up between the Dolphins, Falcons, and Bengals to a point where maybe the price comes down because teams are maybe less willing to come all the way up.
The Eagles starting to trade up conversation is completely different than just one of those guys falling to them.
Yeah.
If it's trade up, no, that's a different animal altogether.
All right, let's jump now to the next question. This is from PFF Commenter. With the Vikings needing help all over the offensive line and defensive line, are they better off taking Barmore, who is the best by far in the interior, or hoping someone wants to trade up for Mac Jones so they may get a second rounder back, lost theirs to Unique Ngakoue trade, and have more swings at the plate?
Well, first off, RIP the Vikings defensive tackle need. They signed Dalvin Thompson, so they're good there.
And they'll get Michael Pierce back from the obviously the opt-out.
Yeah, Michael Pierce back. Defensive end, still a big need. I really don't want to be the first one to draft defensive end in this draft class. I would love, trading up for Mac Jones, trading up for anyone, letting someone come up, getting any day 2 pick, using that first rounder on an edge guy, and then using those multiple day 2 picks on an offensive line. That would be, I think, grade A scenario if you're the Minnesota Vikings.
Do you really do? I don't think we've had this conversation yet, but do you think a team is going to want to trade future draft capital up to go get Mac Jones? Or do you think he's one of those guys that you'd rather let him fall to you, like it's similar like Dwayne Haskins with the football team? I think Mac Jones is a better prospect than Dwayne Haskins, even in hindsight. But do you think that teams are going to want him to fall to him rather than come up and go get Mac Jones? Because Mac Jones becomes a different
question.
Mac Jones becomes a different quarterback prospect when you have to trade a future first and a second rounder for him.
But you're not going to have if you're trading up to 14, it's not going to be that. Like if you're trading up 14, the team's trading up for him going to be the Chicago Bears or the Washington Football Team. That's who's going to trade up to 14. Now, if you're going even higher than that, if it's like into the top 5, top 6, that's a different question altogether. But if it's in that range, like if it's in the proposed trade for like the Patriots going up to 9, or like in my latest mock draft, that I don't think it would be more than a second to do something like that. Or
Interesting.
Like second to the fourth, something like that. It wouldn't be a future first or anything like that.
All right. This is from Tommy Fantasy Guy. Hey, guys. Who are your fantasy football targets amongst rookies? Obviously, Pitts, first-round receivers, and top 2-round backs. But who are some day 2 or day 3 players that could make their mark on the scene? I know a lot will have to do with scheme fits and just where the players end up, but I'd love to get any insights possible. In a 16-person league? Woo! That is a deep league. That is crazy. Of course, he's looking for day 2 and day 3 starters. Can I start this question?
Yeah.
So obviously, I think he's right in that you're going to pick guys who are drafted highly because they're going to more likely get high target share as rookies. For day 2 and day 3 guys, it's tough to consider who you'd pick without knowing where they'd go.
It's
obviously,
literally all situations.
Because it's all going to be. I mean, so much of fantasy is opportunity based. But some of my favorite, I think, where I'd lean is maybe some running backs that could get drafted on day 2 and day 3. I think there could be some guys that come into favorable situations and get run out of the gate. But I don't know what I would do.
That one's so situation based. I think you're going to have to target guys who, if you go back to the running back episode, the all around guys.
Trey Sermon.
The guys who will, who like James Robinson obviously came in. He had a skill set that he can run, he can also catch, and he can like carry a workload. He has that size. So I would not target the backs that are like Demetric Felton, like Chuba Hubbard, like the smaller, undersized guys who aren't going to come in and be possible bell cows or possible like heavy target or heavy loads there. Jesus, heavy loads. So that's where
nothing wrong with heavy loads, dude. I do laundry every weekend. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. It's actually my dad's name. Is there any NFL talent coming out of Penn State in the coming years?
You use that joke all the time.
Now it's becoming a running bit.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I actually hate that you mentioned that because I probably do say that too much. I want to back out of it.
The next one's like HXF.
That's actually my mom's. All right. Is there any NFL talent coming out of Penn State in the coming years? Also, what is the deal with Sean Clifford? I don't think he's terrible, but sometimes it's hard to watch him play. How does he look as a prospect? Thanks.
I think he's terrible. I'll go on a limb there. I think he's terrible.
I don't think he's terrible, but sometimes it's hard to watch him play is honestly what I don't know. Never mind. Go ahead.
I mean, if you think that guy's going to be a prospect when it's hard to watch him play, I got news for you. No, but he's St. X proud.
I was going to say he's a Cincinnati guy. We should offer him a job at PFF.
Cincy guy. I'm interested. So I can't hate too much. But so Penn State prospects. We've touched on Jaquan Brisker before, the safety.
Oh, yeah.
Could have declared, didn't. Big Adrian Amos vibes from him. And then Jahan Dotson. He initially started digging Sean Wade's grave. Devontae Smith ended up putting the nail in that coffin for his draft stock. But if you recall, he had that one-hander against him.
Which wasn't even Sean Wade's worst rep in that game, by the way.
Well, Dotson's a pretty legit wide receiver prospect. Maybe not a first-rounder, but he'll get drafted. So you got it. Those
All
two.
right. This one's from HXFHGFVJJ. Seems like everyone had Marvin Wilson as a top 15 player before the season, or at least a first-rounder. Since then, he's been dropped way, way down on everyone's boards. I didn't get a chance to watch many Florida State games this year. Mike did. So I've been surprised to see this as I was very impressed with him in 2019. So were we. Curious as to your thoughts on the difference from last year to this year. Thanks.
Yes. So Wilson is the classic traits versus production guy. When you don't have high-level traits, if you're just a middling all-around kind of athlete, you better produce. Like to go highly, you better be dominating football fields. And his trait was like his play strength. Like that's his elite trait that you hang your hat on. He didn't necessarily lose that, but it did not develop, and it did not look as dominant this past season. When he was in it was a different role. They were running a lot of 3-man fronts this past year as opposed to what they kind of did in years past for Florida State. Not a lot of guys producing that Florida State defensive line. Not
even like good players. Yeah. Josh McCain. I mean, they had a lot of talent.
Robinson. Those guys did not grade out exceptionally well. They were not really put in great situations. But then also like he's going to be put in not great situations in the NFL. You better overcome that shit. You better still play well. So that's an issue. And then obviously his athletic testing, 5.0940. 23 reps on the bench, 25.5-inch vert, 8.11 broad, 4.83 shuttle, 7.7, 7.13 cone. Just rank average, if not below average for the position.
What's wild is he's a former 5-star. And we've brought that up before, but I thought, I think it was just because of his size. Like the dude's just like kind of a behemoth. He also was on the podcast and talked about, some weight stuff about him getting up in weight and then wanting to come down. Teams wanting him to drop like 20, 30 pounds. Like, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what he plays at in the NFL from a weight perspective and how much that changes things for his development. It'll be interesting. I don't think Florida State was doing a ton to help those guys develop along the defensive line. All right, this is from CamDog23. I'm a diehard Seahawks fan. If you were the owner of the Hawks, would you retain John Schneider? After having probably the greatest drafting run in NFL history from 2010 to 2012, they have been subpar in the draft since. I know you said the Hawks have been a bottom 3 drafting team over the last few years, but I feel they've made some decent good picks. DK, Shaq Griffin, Chris Carson, Damian Lewis, and some good trades for veterans. Diggs, Dwayne Brown, Clowney, ? Their failure had been in early rounds since they often reach for their guys. Basically, how would you grade John Schneider's tenure, and would you keep him? Can I start?
Yeah.
You've talked about, I think, a really good conversation that probably should be mentioned more on the podcast as we do more episodes is what you were saying about where are the edges in roster building. And I think you said positional valuation, like how valuable each position is one of the bigger ones. I think the other one is just guys getting locked into their guys. Like not seeing the market, not seeing the consensus in the draft where you don't need to take Damon Arnett at the back end of the first. You don't need to take Jonathan Abrams as high as you do, or Josh Jacobs. I know I'm picking on the Raiders here, but they're another team that goes and picks their guys. LJ Collier, probably a similar mold to what the Seattle Seahawks did. Rashad Penny. Not only are you picking low value positions like interior defensive line, running back, box safety, but you're locking into your guys. And when you lock into your guys and don't take into account like consensus boards and those things where you expect people to go, not only are you going to fall into reaches, Jordan Brooks was the second biggest reach according to the Athletics consensus board of any player in the first round last year. Like when you do that, Damon Arnett I think was the first biggest or the biggest reach, or Isaiah Wilson maybe. But like when you do that, not only do you put yourself in a situation where you're reaching on a player versus consensus, but then it was also like a low valued position, like linebacker, like box players are not as valuable as other players on the football field. Yeah. So I do think that the Seahawks, while they did draft really well and hit on a lot of guys, they've really missed on factoring in positional valuation and consensus markets to make sure that they know that, one, they're getting the best value for their picks, and two, they're hitting on guys. Yeah,
the process has been questionable, I would say the least. The Jimmy Graham trade, the Jamal Adams trade, those are not guys you trade what they gave up for to then pay also. It's kind of the biggest thing there. Should not be giving up that sort of capital for, if really anyone other than quarterback. Maybe a number one corner, maybe a Jalen Ramsey. Like that's about it that you really can give up for positions like that. Getting a guy like Jamal Adams, as we saw, doesn't move the needle for your defense. And I think just there's a lot of process concerns. So I'm not going to call for anyone's job, but I'll just say there's process concerns.
And it was 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like think of mathematically how good Jamal Adams has to be better than 2 first-round picks. Like to be better than 2 starters. Because, first-round picks, you have to expect they're going to start. To be better than 2 starters as a safety in that limited role is difficult. Not only does he have to stay healthy, he's got to be playing really well. Like, it's very difficult on that side of the ball. To get a guy that would live up.
Now they got to give him a contract after this, and he's probably going to be top paid safety in the NFL.
Very true.
You're negotiating.
You have to. It's the same thing with like Jalen Ramsey. And I think Jalen Ramsey, better position, more valuable. But like they traded 2 first-round picks for him or something along those lines, and then like he had them hands tied behind your back. Yeah. It's like, hey. And now I want my money.
Yep.
All right. And now I want my money. All right. This is from JBIJA1207. What do you think is the move for the Giants in the draft at 11? Obviously, wide receiver is a huge need and has changed a little bit and would change the team on offense drastically. However, the Giants had a bottom 5 offensive line for the last few years, and just drafting Andrew Thomas last year is not enough. I respect that. Do you think Slater could be a move at 11? You've said this before and you like it. Or do you think they're better drafting a weapon and finding offensive line later in the draft?
I think Slater's a likely. I think that might be Slater's floor at this point, 11. Just because
all those Chargers mocks of them are over?
Yeah, the desperation you see just around the league and free agency for that position, for anyone off its line. And this versatility will obviously be coveted. So, yeah, I think that's a very likely scenario at this point.
I also don't hate them trading back if they can find ways to trade back and add on the offensive line. But I will say for the interior, you have Will Hernandez there.
We need to make a list of teams you would hate trading back for.
Yeah.
Who do you hate trading back for?
Jags.
Have one.
But Will Hernandez has been a productive player for them former second-round pick in 2018. But Shane Lemieux and Nick Gates starting last year were disastrous.
Lemieux should not have been in there. Yeah, so they get Nate Solder back. And then, but the thing is, Solder and Peart, you have two of the tallest tackles in the NFL. Solder, I think, 6'8". I think Peart's 6'7". Are you going to move Andrew Thomas to guard? It was 4th overall pick.
That would be
You going to move him to guard? Or are you going to move a 6'8" guy to guard? I don't know what they're going to necessarily do, though, because I don't think – I guess Peart, if anyone, would be who I'd kick in. But, yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. All right, looking at the next one here. This is from Cade Otten. Anyways, thoughts on Jamar Jefferson?
Shit, I never gave the Cade Otten take. I'll have to go give the Cade Otten take next week.
What's the Cade Otten take?
Someone asked me about Cade Otten. I just never did it.
Oh, okay. Seems as if he's one of the more... Oh, so this is on Jamar Jefferson, not Cade Otten. This is from Cade Otten. Seems as if he's one of the more all-over-the-place evaluations in the draft right now. Some seeing him as a high-end RB3, as high as RB3, to not being ranked in the top 200 of the PFF draft guide.
Fantasy guys are going to love this guy because 1,374 yards is an 18-year-old.
Dominator rating. But he's just not that exciting athletically. Never been a tackle breaker. Broke fewer than forced missed tackles per attempt was under 0.2. For context with that, Javon Williams was almost 0.5 this past year. Just that's not who he is. The comp in the draft guide for him, Devontae Booker. That tells you about how exciting he is as a That
athlete.
would suck.
He's a good one-cut runner, zone runner, very good vision. Can play in the NFL. I mean, shit, Devontae Booker's got a second contract. So that's how I feel about him.
Devontae Booker is like one of the last running backs I want in the NFL. I want a guy. Someone was asking me like, what kind of running backs do you look for on day 2, day 3? I want a guy with a specific skill set. I don't, the all-around types. While you can chase them like the James Robinsons of the world, I kind of want to go get a guy that's really good at something. Pass protection, goal line situations, pass catching. I want to go get
But the thing is,
I want speed. I want to do what the 49ers have done, like Raheem Mostert and those guys. Like, go get fast players and hand them the football.
And it's kind of like, I guess offensively, you can dictate terms a lot better.
Can you never do that again?
What?
Offensively?
I was in between words. I guess offensively, you can dictate terms better. Like you can protect a guy if a guy really can't do X. You don't have to put him in a role to do X, but sometimes you want to audible and then do X. But if that guy's on the field, then you can't do X. So there you go. That's why people like the backs like that. They can do a lot of different things.
Alrighty, this is from JAK Jump. The Bears are likely to trade for a quarterback this offseason. If they do, Akeem Hicks and Charles Leno are likely cap cuts. How are some of the later round options that might be able to be developed into a replacement for these two?
I don't think they're trading for a quarterback anymore.
Unfortunate.
But developmental offensive tackles, we kind of touched on this in the OT pod. If you haven't listened, go back and check that out. But the two best traits tackles that are likely going to go day 3, Spencer Brown from Northern Iowa, Jalen Moore from Western Michigan. Those are pure developmental guys. Like you're not throwing those guys in. He's saying later round options. You're not throwing that guy in for, Bobby Massey, who they released, and saying, "Hey, you're our new right tackle." That ain't gonna work. A guy I think is a little more ready and also has some developmental traits. And I even have a higher grade on the day 3, but could still go through, likely to go day 3. Deontay Smith, East Carolina. Thought he looked really good at the Senior Bowl. Undersized. I think that's like his biggest thing. That was just like, if this guy can put on a little bit more mass, I think he can be a quality starting tackle in the NFL.
I also like James Hudson. I got a little developmental offensive tackle.
I don't think he's day 3 though.
You think he goes day 2?
Yeah.
Nice. That's good. Love that. You see, guys. All right. This is from Oreo Queen 4321. I like that. Great pot. Jacksonville has the first selection of Friday and Saturday, in addition to Thursday. Historically, have the first picks in the second and fourth rounds have higher success rate than other picks in their respective rounds. Interesting.
So they flipped to the 3 days in 2010. I remember hating it. I loved as a kid growing up, and Saturday would be the day.
All the rounds, right?
All 7. Or no, it was Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? It was 4 rounds and then, 3 rounds and then 4. Loved that. Man, miss those days because you just sit there.
I like the
long.
3 days.
But I've come around 3 days. Like I said, that was 2010. Here are I just did the top of the second round. The reasoning here being, I think, is why Oreo Queen here asked the question. is that you get a whole day to choose who you want.
Yeah.
I got all
and
day.
You can field trade offers and you can do a lot of different things.
Or the people that do trade up, they go and get their guy. So in reality, I don't think it's been much different. Yeah, 2010 was Roger Saffold, hit. 2011, Razai Dowling to the Patriots. Name nice. I haven't heard in probably since he got drafted there. Brian Quick, 2012, to the Rams. With Jonathan Cyprin to the Jaguars. Last time they had that top of the second round pick. Not a good track record there. Small sample size scouting. Jags were terrible at the top of the second round pick. 14, although he ended up getting like a second contract somewhere that was with the Titans, was it?
No, it was with the Titans.
That was not, he should not have gotten. But no, I mean, that they should not have given.
Was Cyprin also a Jags pick at the top of the second round?
Yeah, Cyprin was Jags pick. Yeah.
He was also the guy that posted the Instagram picture with just some random old dude and said like, "Oh, I met George Bush." And it was
he really?
Bush. Did you guys have never seen that?
I've never
I'll
seen
stitch
that.
this in.
Oh,
I promise.
Thank God.
Better actually.
Thank God. Dude, I got to see that.
It's pretty funny. Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up now.
Number 14, Xavier Su'a-Filo. 15, Landon Collins. There we go. We got a second real banger at the top of the second. 16, Emmanuel Ogbah. 17, Kevin King. 18, Austin Corbett, which, that Austin Corbett pick. I remember at the time, I was like, I liked Austin Corbett. I would have picked Austin Corbett 70 picks later. And I was like out on a limb thinking I liked him that high. Byron Murphy, 2019. Okay, 2020. Who was it, Quinn?
T. Higgins.
Bang.
Nice.
Bengals have two top of the first round guys. Xavier Su'a-Filo now.
Yeah, so I think that's about 1/3-ish sort of solid hit rate. You got a few other you got a couple guys that just weren't it at all. A couple guys that could see the field but were fine. I think that's about what you'd expect in that range.
I found the picture and I just dropped it in our chat. It is absolutely hilarious. He's just got this. It looks like a pilot or something. I don't know what this picture is. I'm glad we're going to put it up on the YouTube channel, but what the fuck? I met George Bush. Maybe the guy's name was George Bush and he thought it was George Bush. That could be. That's it. I don't know.
Common mistake.
All right, this is from Will Clank. Where do you guys see Jarrett Patterson going in the draft? And as a Bills fan, how should they address their offensive line and defensive line needs this offseason/draft? This guy's obviously a Buffalo native. Thanks. Keep up the great work.
Yes. So Patterson, I think he's a late day 3, man. Just that size is tough sell.
Yeah. And
very similar to J.J. Taylor last year from Arizona. It's 5'5", 185. Patterson's maybe just a tad bigger. But I thought Taylor even ran harder. That guy ran with power on his tape at Arizona. Went undrafted. So late day 3 is where I'd see Patterson. And for the Bills, how would they address O-line? You got to take advantage of this deep class somewhere. Doesn't have to be round 1. I would love cornerback. I think someone else is going to ask about the Bills later, and I'm going to tell you pound the table for some corners there. But in the first round, I do think the interior class on round 2 gets you a guy. To me, the kick your pants fit, Quinn Miners. Day 2.
Oh, that would be sick.
Back around 2 would be nice.
I like that a lot. All right, this is from Jameson Schumacher.
Fits the town.
It fits the town. Definitely fits the town. Dude, the social media team is going to have a field day.
Yeah.
Jameson Schumacher. What are Mike's thoughts on Chargers building a Notre Dame defense with Isaac Rochelle, Alohi Gilman, Jerry Tillery, Drew Tranquill, and who are his favorite Notre Dame defensive players regardless of year?
I'll be honest, that sounds like a shitty defense.
That does.
That's not good.
Brady Quinn would like it on radio. Only on radio. Damn, it would be on a podcast.
Notre Dame, not known for their defensive prowess, I'll say, over the past decade. So that's not what I would go. My favorite defensive players, though, Notre Dame, loved Louis Nix.
Oh, yeah, he was sick.
Louis Nix was great in college until his knee injuries caught up to him, knee issues. He was mocked in the first round before he came out that he had a meniscus that was a real issue. I never really loved Manti. People love Manti at Notre Dame.
Neither did his girlfriend.
The Faith thing, okay. Ha, ha, ha. 10 years later, they're still funny.
They are still funny.
No. They were played out 2014. But
I still like them.
I never really loved Manti. I thought his face shit was over the top even before the fake girlfriend. Kyle Hamilton is my favorite, most talented. That guy's good as hell.
I thought Jalen Smith was really fun to watch.
Jalen Smith was good, but he was more prospect good instead of actual on the field good. Kyle Hamilton, prospect good, on the football field, also good.
You know who's a linebacker that was really a fun watch in college was Miles Jack. Miles Jack and Eric Kendricks when they were playing together at UCLA. That was a sick.
He was fun at running back.
Yeah, he was fun at running back too.
And then top 3.
His second
bottom
question.
3 favorite fans in the NFL. You're trying to make me alienate some of you guys, and I will gladly go ahead and do that. Top 3, Bengals.
Love that.
Browns, Bills. Adopted Bengals fan myself, so maybe.
Wait, what is this?
So the question from Jameson Schumacher was, what are your guys' top 3 and bottom 3 favorite fans in the NFL?
Bengals, Browns, Bills.
And then what are your bottom 3?
Bottom 3, Seahawks. So whiny. They're just like, they're no.
I don't like how they address themselves as the 12s.
And then that's the worst. Anyone that owns a 12 jersey, you can just turn off the podcast right now. This isn't for you. All right. This is for the people that don't wear 12 jerseys. This podcast.
This isn't for you.
Raiders. Just because you're a Raiders fan, but they're just
they are.
God.
Oh my god.
Vicious.
I mean, that's what happens though when you deal with like
jaded.
2 decades of shitty ass teams.
Yeah.
I mean,
like the Bengals, Browns, and Bills, I love them because anything positive is like, oh my god.
Yeah.
They're like a kid who just like figured out.
Falcons fans are up there for me.
Fun.
I like Falcons fans. I think they're a little bit more real. Right. I think the fact that you didn't include Cowboys in your bottom 3 is a little ridiculous. Cowboys fans are absolutely vicious. When I had that take about Trayvon Diggs just not playing that well last year, I had multiple people DM me asking for my address to kill me. Eagles fans too. I think the NFC East is kind of brutal.
Eagles I changed my last one. I had the Pats written down there, but
Patriots have started to suck though. Patriots fans are like,
Patriots fans really got on this past year.
This past year has been tough for Patriots fans. It's like, I don't know, man. What are you talking about? We're the Patriots. We should go to the Super Bowl every year. It's like, dude, calm down.
The amount of people that have told me that you can find a quarterback in the later rounds is incredible.
Boo.
But Eagles are worse.
Who's the most middle fan for you?
Mid fan? Jaguars. They just like...
Yeah. Arizona was going to be my take.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think I've had a reply from a Chargers fan.
True.
So.
All right. This is from TBO Gucci. What offensive line prospects do you see available at the Seahawks pick in the 2nd round? My dream scenario would be Walker Little and develop him at right tackle and then move him to left when Dwayne Brown retires. I like that dream scenario.
I love all our people on Walker Little now.
Yeah.
Wait, the next question is about Seahawks and Walker Little. So
okay.
Read the next one and then go back to the second part of that first question.
Wait, can we go back to his second part? TBO Gucci also said, I was at a party in Roslyn, Washington, where the original Four Locos got banned in 2010. Our party made national news. It made CNN and every news outlet in the country, and even SNL did a skit about it. No one died, but people got alcohol poisoning and went to the ICU. It was wild. Need me on the pod so I can tell you about the story.
No, I hate this guy.
Why?
That is why Four Loko got banned. It was that party.
Oh, was it?
I hate this guy.
Oh no,
you ruined it for the rest of us.
Okay,
although
I don't think it was just that party. To be fair, I saw some.
That was like the snowball. That started the snowball.
It was a snowball effect, but there was that was those were not good.
See, this is why I hate Seahawks fans.
They're not good.
I hope they get Cole Van Lannon in the 2nd round. That's who I want you to draft. Cole Van Lannon.
This is from another Seahawks
fan. But honestly, he may have saved my life, so maybe I should thank you.
That's true. All right, the username for this one is Depressed Hawks Fan. As a Seahawks fan, I think most of what is out there surrounding Russell Wilson is smoke. However, I do think the Seahawks should invest significant assets in the draft and free agency in the offensive line. I think a high upside player such as Walker Little to play tackle seems like a perfect fit. But most of the conversation seems to not be around him. Why is he not talked about as a fit for the Seahawks? And what other potential players on the offensive line would be good fits in the 2nd round?
These are my Walker Little peeps. I'm convincing everybody here. But I think he's a great fit. I think honestly he comes off the board earlier though than where they were picking the 2nd round. The guy I would probably peg for them that I think would fit kind of what they're building. And Pete Carroll saying we want to run the ball. We got to run the ball better. Jack Carman, 330 pounds.
Yes.
330 pounds. 330 pounds. That's a line from left to right. Now you just need to get a little bit bigger at center too. I don't know who you're going to draft there. Maybe Deontay Brown. Have him play center.
Ugh.
I know that sounds awful, but that'd be fun. It'd be big.
That would be big.
It would be big.
All righty, let's move now to JKFBK. Oh, I wanted to bring this up. Walker Little was also mentioned on your hit with Colin Cowherd. You had a hit with Colin Cowherd and had a hit with NFL Now. You gave him on TV twice this week. You love to see it. But Colin Cowherd also said that you played at Notre Dame, which you didn't, which is hilarious.
And I was like, No, I can't correct him.
No, absolutely not. You were 100% right not to correct him. But it's like, yeah, you played at Notre Dame. That was freaking hilarious. And you're like, yeah, what's up?
He brought it up twice, and I was like,
And you got like, what, 40, 50 IG DMs after that?
I did play Interhall. I did get some IG DMs after that.
You love to see that.
You know what you should have done is you should have taken the hit with a backwards hat on because he hates the backwards hat. If you would have showed up.
I wouldn't have got an invite back.
But I feel like that joke's kind of played out with Colin Cowherd too, though. I don't know. A lot of people
No, but it probably would have elicited a reaction out of him, though.
Yeah.
Because he leans into it now.
Which is smart by him. I mean, if you want to talk about someone who's good at their craft, Colin Cowherd is good at making people energized and excited about TV.
If you hate on Colin Cowherd, you take life too seriously.
And you're misinterpreting his job. You're misinterpreting what he's trying to do. It's
he's
the same
an
thing
entertainer.
Same thing with Skip Bayless. Same thing with Shannon Sharp. I mean,
Stephen A.
No, Skip Bayless.
Don't disrespect the GOAT.
I'm going to go on
Stephen A.
Here's the thing, though. Skip Bayless isn't in on the joke. Is the problem? With
No,
Skip
that
Bayless.
is true.
He doesn't realize that he's an entertainer. He thinks that this is like he is the voice of sports analysis.
That's incredible.
Colin Cowherd knows he's like just throwing.
Oh yeah,
he's living by the sea.
Which you just love to see. Yeah. Guys living the fucking dream. All right. He came when I was an intern at San Diego. Fox.
I wish you would have asked me about Trey Lance because I would have brought up his daughter on IG.
No, you wouldn't have.
Oh, I would have.
You would not have.
Just let's see. Next, I'll get back on.
I guarantee
I'll get back on.
I guarantee
and I will
you.
bring up.
I'll give you $500 if you do it.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Easy. And you have to mention, what would you say?
Just give me a raise, $500 raise.
What would you say?
I'll say I love the confidence. I mean, I see him commenting on your daughter's Instagram all the time.
I'll give you $500 if you do that. I'll give you $500 if you do that. Quinn, am I wrong to think this is absurd? There's no way you bring that up.
I'm doing it.
I mean, we're talking about entertainers and entertaining. That would be entertaining as
You would
hell.
love
So
it.
I'm
Oh my
all for
God.
it.
It would be incredible.
I'll chip in on the 500.
Dude, that would be incredible. All right. I'm going to look to book you on Colin Cowherd soon. We're going to need to make it happen.
Got to get Lance in the topics.
That's incredible. All right. This is from JKF BK. Which player in the current top 32 do you think has the most probability to be a bust?
Man, Caleb Farley is just red flag city at this point with his recurring back issues, former past ACL tear, opting out. That one's scary. And like sometimes guys, I mean, go back to like Lewis Nix, who I just brought up. He like just had a recurring knee issue and recurring like injuries. And yeah, he was on a football field, but he wasn't the same guy. And that could be very well like with the back issue. You can be playing. You can be like still, healthy enough to play, but not be the same guy. And that's concerning to me. Trey Lance, obviously, in any quarterback, the bust rate's high. Outside of that, I'll say Jason Oweh because he's got a ways to go. You can't just drop him on an NFL field and think he's going to be.
I'd also mention
right off the bat. He really has to develop
the Miami edge defenders. Greg Rousseau, still only 1 year of collegiate football, redshirt freshman season, still needs to get a lot better. And then obviously Jalen Phillips has the concussions and could end up.
The edge class is very busty.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's like a.
Don't.
Yeah.
You gonna bring up Liv Cowherd again, or
it's like.
It's just busty. Let's just leave it at busty for the people.
Anything that was popping into my head was probably not what I should be saying on the podcast.
I respect that. All right. Who dat dogs? I'm a huge Georgia fan, and I was wondering y'all's take on Aziz.
Like Ava Adams. There you go.
It's been crazy watching his progression for 3 years at UGA, and I saw him way down Bleacher Report's edge rusher rankings, and I was wondering y'all's opinion. He also has a second question, super nerdy question, but what types of analytics software and programming languages do you use at PFF? I'll start. R, Python, SQL, JavaScript, HTML. Learn them all. Try to learn them all. At least learn 2 or 3.
You know those?
I don't know all of those, but I'm saying people at PFF do.
Adobe Creative Suite, too.
Yeah, that's not a programming language, but yeah, I agree that learning the Adobe.
We're throwing all this stuff out there.
I agree. No, I agree with Quinn. No.
I got the one programming language you need to learn. Football.
Oh, wow.
X's and O's.
Take your shirt off. All right, go to I'm a huge Georgia fan and talk about Aziz.
Yeah, but I don't actually do any programming language, just to clarify. I'm a fan of him, his skill set. It's a unique skill set. I think he's almost... People think, 249, he comes in as pro day. I think he could be a good run defender. I don't think he's a DPR, the designated pass rusher, what Mike Mayock called Yannick Ngakoue coming out. No, like he can play in the run. He really has to win with just pure hands and athleticism at the NFL level. He's explosive enough. I think he can get by. I felt better about a guy like Brian Burns getting by. Because Brian Burns around a 4.51 was just all around everything athlete. I think that's kind of what it takes to be consistently dominant pass rusher. And I think we've even seen it from Yannick Ngakoue. Kind of goes really up and down as a pass rusher. He's never really taken that leap into, because he's not that caliber of athlete that can really clown tackles on the reg.
Clelin Ferrell went ahead of Brian Burns and Josh Allen in that draft. I still can't believe that. That's wild. That is wild.
That's your version of A.J. Dillon for me.
Yeah. All right. Dean P90. Thomas Graham Jr. is my guy. And when I say my guy, I mean played football with him in high school. Started varsity as a freshman, and he played everywhere. Wide receiver, corner, safety, linebacker, running back, wildcat, QB. Dude wore number 7, and you always saw number 7 with him around the ball. Never didn't hear his name being announced. Eleanor Roosevelt High School, stand up. Just wondering where you guys have him as a prospect and where you could see him drafted in April.
That reminds me so much of the one guy from my hometown who was good at football, Michael LeSure, if you recall.
Oh, yeah.
Second rounder for the Lions. I think it was second rounder. Played at Illinois, running back. He was just like a freak. He was 6'2", 230 back in high school. And when he just went towards the end of games, when they would be in like a blowout, he would just go to defensive line and just start throwing guys around. Like he was just could do another guy that just is, they're different than the rest of us when they're at that level of capability. But Thomas Graham, by NFL standards, then he's just kind of a mid-athlete. And it's an athleticism position, quarterback. It matters more there than maybe any other position on the football field. But I think his experience is a huge plus. He's been starting since he was a true freshman. His instincts are a plus. His feet and his balance are exceptional. That's why I'm a big fan of his. I'm probably higher on him than a lot of people. I think I draft him probably in the early 3rd. I'm not sure he will go until maybe early day 3. I think he has some regrets about not playing this year. I would think.
Yeah.
He could have raised his stock. Well, it's eatable though.
Him saying, you always saw number 7 around the ball reminded me I talked to our Darius Washington last night, TCU safety, and he said, teams have asked him, I asked him, where do you want to play in the NFL, or what team said you should play in the NFL, and he said every team has asked me something different, like slot, box, outside, all this different stuff, and I said, where do you want to play? He's like, I want to play where the ball is. It's like, you know what? I freaking like that. I like that answer. Some people, that question, like, where are you going to play in the NFL, is often responded with, I'll play anywhere they ask me. I'll play where the ball is a top 5 answer for me. That's a phenomenal
He wants to play
answer.
center.
Yeah, he wants to play center, which is cool.
It's a sexy
I can't wait. He's got the weight to do it. All right, brother_J. Do you think waiting on quarterback for the Lions is a mistake? This year's class appears to be a special class, and Trey Lance is getting slept on. I don't know if he is. We could possibly just sit at 7 and not have to move up and get a quarterback who can also sit behind Goff. I think the only quarterback that will be available to Detroit Lions at 7 is Mac Jones.
Yeah, that was an egregious use of getting slept on.
Yeah.
Like that guy's been touted as
a top 5 player,
year and a half. But
don't make fun of Brother Jay.
I just think the Lions are such a tough. I go back and forth to the Lions because they're in a position where obviously you'd want to do better than Goff, but you also have a not great roster. And do you give? And you're kind of at like a beginning of a rebuild where you don't need it right now, and you'll be players in next year's class. Even with Goff, I don't think they'll be picking outside the top 10 next year. I'm very confident you'd be in that sort of range. So trading up, it's going to be a bidding war this year. There will be teams, like that's how good these quarterbacks are, and that's how many teams need them. There will be teams giving up a lot out of desperation, out of the need to get it. Do you want to be giving up a lot right now? Do you want to be draft capital strapped the next couple of years in this rebuild? I just don't think that's where you want to be if you're the Lions. Like if you give up a future, you give up a future second round pick, that could be pick 33. Could be rolling through next year and saying, is pick 33 better than pick 34 or whatever that question was? I can't remember.
I think the phrase you were looking for was draft cap strapped.
That's good. I like that. That's a
draft cap strapped is what you're looking for. Yeah. TM. He had another question. Sam Howell, I think this is a good question. Sam Howell, the UNC quarterback, is losing all of his weapons this year, and that's an understatement. Daz Newsome, De'Ami Brown, Michael Carter, and Javonte Williams are all entering the draft. I think he will struggle next year, and his draft stock will fade. I am not a Slovis fan. I don't understand the hype. So I guess that leaves me rooting for Spencer Rattler, hoping he becomes the next Messiah. But again, that's if we land the number 1 pick. To me, I think quarterback this year is a slam dunk. Am I crazy? Is Brother Jay crazy?
Yeah, he's not crazy about the fact that these quarterback classes don't come around every year.
Yeah.
It can look nice right now. We can be like, ooh, Spencer Rattler, got a hose, look at him outside the pocket. And then he comes back next year and poops his pants.
Have you watched any of the Carson Strong kid, Nevada?
He had the farthest throw of anyone in the country last year. Romeo Dubs, though, is the real deal.
That's a made-up
wide
name.
Receiver. It's a sick name.
Romeo Dubs is sick.
He torched your boys. He torched Darren Hall.
Oh, that's right. No, you're right. Nevada gave us the biz last year.
Yeah.
You hate to see it.
He's that guy.
Then you got Malik Willis, Liberty, who's got
he's got a cannon too. Those guys. But yeah, Carson Strong.
Look at my chops for next year, bro.
Throw.
We got to make a. Where's Liberty? Carolinas?
I'm just going to go on a limb and say the Virginias.
All right, I'm going to look where that is. We might have to do a tailgate toward Liberty.
Just Virginia, actually, I would guess. If I had to guess. No.
It is in Virginia. Oh, let's go. Lynchburg, Virginia. What the fuck? Why is that a name of a city? Jeez.
But yeah, I still do think, like I said, with where you are as a roster, draft cap strapped.
How is the East Coast naming things Lynchburg? How have we not changed that name? That is not.
I've actually been there before.
That's just, I don't like it. I'm not on board with that.
Maybe it's named after Marshawn Lynch.
I fucking doubt it. All right. If he had another question. Brother Jay's just loading us up. If the Lions took a slot receiver at the top of round 2, what would be the best option? Elijah Moore won't be there. Kadarius Toney, maybe. And Rondale Moore, maybe.
Elijah Moore could be there.
You think so? If Elijah Moore gets past the Green Bay Packers at 29, I will be floored. Like, why? Yeah. At that point, why? You're just avoiding the wide receiver position for the content.
Yeah. Elijah's top on our board. So obviously I'd say Elijah. But after that, that's tough, man. I don't know. Anthony Lynn's offense.
I just threw up in my mouth. I don't know what Anthony Lynn's offense is going to be, and I'm not excited about it.
It's a little more vertical. So give me
Jamal
Rondale.
Williams might have more receptions.
Give me Rondale with that 4.29 speed.
Love it. All right. A couple more questions here. We got to be out at 10:05. Hard stop at 10:05.
Oh, shit.
This is from a Wyatt man.
You guys say 10:05 as if like the people here know what time we're recording.
They know we're recording. They know. Don't worry. This is from a Wyatt man. How much of an impact do you believe coaching, familiarity with scheme had on Baker Mayfield's sophomore slump? And do you believe his resurgence in terms of play is sustainable? I'm curious if any past quarterbacks come to mind who've had a similar 3-year trajectory to Baker Mayfield. Good rookie season, awful sophomore slump, decent first half of his third season, elite play in the second half of his third season. Do you know anybody off the top of your head that had that? Just I'm asking.
I mean, Dak Prescott is a corollary in that his second year was not great. You know, he had a lull in there where people were questioning. That's why people still question. It's like, it's Dak deserve that contract. Here. But I also think it's Odell Beckham is the reason.
No,
why.
It's not.
It's Odell Beckham.
No, it's not.
I swear to God, it's maybe not. It's not. I'm not blaming Odell, but Odell's presence on the football field turns Baker Mayfield's brain into creamy mush. Look at these numbers when targeting Odell Beckham. He's your best receiver. You should have your best numbers targeting your best receiver. He has a 56.1 completion percentage, a 75.6 passer rating. More picks than touchdowns targeting Odell Beckham since he got there.
Yikes.
What am I missing?
I will say this, though. Regardless of this roller coaster that he's had, I think if anything, it shows just how important situation is for a quarterback. Again, it comes back to like Josh Allen and what the Buffalo Bills to build around him was awesome. And they got a really good season out of Josh Allen. I think getting Kevin Stefanski, adding to the offensive line, Austin Hooper, Jarvis, I mean, they did
and
a
losing Odell Beckham. But that game is almost comedic, that game.
Which one?
That Odell Beckham went down.
Oh.
0 for 6 he starts off with, throws a pick to Odell Beckham. Doesn't have another incompletion the rest of the game. Started 0 for 6. Odell Beckham goes down, didn't have another incompletion. He has a spike. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I might sound crazy. I'm not.
I'm not crazy. All right, couple more questions here. This is from CJ Spiller. Was fun to watch. True. Here's my mailbag question. What helps Bills the most in the round 1? I think Rondale Moore would be a home run and would be an upgrade. Playing the Isaiah McKenzie role in the Dable offense, which is a huge role that Josh Allen loves to utilize. I also think rock solid tackle like Tevin Jenkins could be too good to pass up. And then linebacker and quarterback are pressing needs. What helps the Bills most going forward?
Oh, man, I kind of just got a little thinking about Rondale getting carries in the backfield there. Dable would use him right. Dable knows what the fuck he's doing over there.
You can probably get him in the second though.
No, not that late in the second. Not the back end of the second. I'm going to say cornerback though, because think about the impact Tre'Davious White had on this defense. Still has on this defense. But when you got Tre'Davious White, how that kind of transformed what the Bills do. Double it.
Yep.
Another Tre'Davious White. How does that sound?
That sounds sick. I would lean
That's
corner.
That's why I vote, because you can get that impact guy day 1. Corners, end of day 2 or end of round 2, you're kind of really in the weeds on a guy if he can even start for you. Into your offensive line, I think you can hit a home run at the back end of second round, and you get that guy to plug in right away.
I would go corner or tackle. I think that makes the most sense for the Bills.
They signed Darrell Williams. They don't really have a tackle need.
I still think it's just too valuable a position. What?
They're in a window. You're in a window. This is the last year of Josh Allen cheap, before 5th year, and then before extension or tag.
So you're going to go shoot the moon with like a Rondale, you're saying, or a corner.
Corner.
All right, this is Fight on Dan.
You got to stop the Chiefs. Is Teron Johnson going to guard Tyreek Hill again? So you could fucking lose that game.
Yeah.
So
all right, this is from Fight on Dan. If you were going to make a 53-man roster of all the top prospects in this year's draft, how would they fare in a regular NFL season schedule, assuming they'd have a good NFL head coach at the helm? Could that team make the playoffs?
Man. So the biggest thing here, I think quarterback, wide receivers, and defense. I think the biggest like transition with like corners and safeties is more you're going to a brand new scheme. It's a different speed. The place where it really is different and where you're going to get exposed, line of scrimmage. It's just tough for a lot of guys to come in. There's only a few that do it every year that can come in and play on both sides of the ball. It'd be tough, especially since you don't have really defensive tackles in this year's class that are great. I don't know about make the playoffs. They're like a 8-8 team, 7-9 team, I think.
I'd be interested.
Maybe even better with Trevor Lawrence this year. Maybe like 10-6.
Yeah, but they also got
make the playoffs. I'm talking myself into it.
They also got Zach Wilson too. You know what they say: if you have two quarterbacks,
don't have one.
You don't have one.
And you got Trey Lance, though. You can have the 2 QB system.
I also love the idea of having like the offensive line class is deep enough to where you could have some talent in the trenches.
Yeah, I guess you hit up. So you get the best one.
The defensive line would be butt cheeks. I mean, compared to like NFL offensive lines.
Yeah, but the cream would rise. It's not like you're just getting the top 5 prospects. You're getting like you could get Michael Onwenu last year and realize, oh shit, this guy's actually way better.
Yeah.
This guy's actually way more ready than we thought.
Because you're going to go into the preseason with 90. You know, you're going to pick the 90 best players.
Yeah,
that's a lot. I mean, you're going to get 90 of the best players. You're going to compete in camp, lights out with a good head coach apparently. And I don't know, man, 10-6, I like it. All right, this is from Jack Rock 101. We'll finish with his. My question is, if the Washington football team traded a 3rd this year and a 4th next year to get Marcus Mariota, it sucks to hear this. He has a no trade clause in his contract, unfortunately. But if the team did trade a 3rd and a 3rd this year and a 4th next year for Marcus Mariota and picked up Curtis Samuel in free agency, they did.
It's hot.
While re-signing key pieces like Darby, they didn't sign Darby. They got Scherf. What would the ceiling be? Also, if they drafted
upgraded from Darby, well, Jack.
Yeah.
So,
also, if they drafted JOK in the 1st to serve as linebacker next to Cole Holcomb, UNC grad, and then drafted a receiver in the 2nd like De'Ami Brown, UNC grad, to play outside along with secondary offensive line depth in the draft, how would you benefit? I love these questions, by the way. Again, it comes back to NFL fandom. Like, you got this guy, Jack Rock is working, or Jarock, it's just Jarock. He's working a normal job, probably doesn't work in football, whatever it is, and he's just sitting there at his desk thinking, fuck, man, if we re-sign Curtis Samuel, trade for Marcus Mariota.
Connecting dots.
I love it, dude. I love it. That's what the league has done to fans, where fans are sitting there like, all right, we trade a 3rd and a 4th for Marcus Mariota. We give Curtis Samuel a call, offer him 10 mil, maybe 11. And it's like, you're just like sitting like De'Ami Brown. We get Cole Holcomb paired up with JOK. And next thing you know, we're winning 10 games. It's like that. The way they've marketed the offseason in the NFL should be on fucking masterclass. Because you have these guys with no vested interest outside of maybe a season ticket. And they want to figure out how to make the best football team possible.
I think that they're a lightning in a bottle-esque Super Bowl team, and I'll tell you why.
Ooh, that was a weird ooh.
Fitzpatrick. Ooh,
I don't want to say
Fitzpatrick is that type of quarterback. One, but this defensive line is about to be insane next year. Like, that was year 1 of Chase Young. Year 2 of Chase Young is going to be scary. Year 2 of Chase Young might be best edge defender in the NFL. He's a problem. But then you can't really just account for him because you also have Jonathan Allen, Matt Ioannidis, and Montez Sweat, who can also win one-on-one easily. This is like Eagles 17 level of dominance defensive line, Giants runs-esque in what they can do with their front 4. That's how good this D-line is. And when you have that elite, unstoppable D-line, we always say pass rush versus coverage, whatever. If you're so dominant at one of them, you're going to have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and it's going to cause massive problems for opposing quarterbacks. So I do think that they're a sneaky, like we saw them give, even they played Tom Brady and the Bucs closer than the Chiefs did. They played about as close as the Packers. Like, they gave them a real game with Taylor Heineke at quarterback. Now, Taylor Heineke also played well, but I think this team is close, and it's because of that defensive line.
You love to see it. That's going to do it for this episode of the Mailbag. Only 20 questions to get fully caught up to this portion through March 10th. And then we got another 75 to get caught up through, I think, March 20th. Then we got the over 150 on the international mailbag. Start doing the math here. We're going to get there, I hope. We might have to do 2 mailbags a week. I don't know. Quinn, what are your thoughts? I need answers. I need solutions.
We do have to do 2 mailbags a week.
Oh no, we might have to do 3. I'm saying 5 episodes.
We should just extend the mailbag.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's honestly the highlight of my week, so we need to make it longer.
Okay,
it's either that or we just do mailbag questions every episode. Like not the whole thing, but you could tack someone at the very end.
That's not a bad shout. Just do like 10, 5. Something like that. We'll think about it. We're going to get there, though. And if you want your question answered before the draft, it feels like a false promise. I don't want it to be a false promise. I swear we'll get to it. But if you want your question answered before the draft, go to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review. It helps us a ton. A big reason why PFF's 2-for-1 Drafts podcast has grown as much as it has is because you guys are in Apple Podcasts leaving reviews. That helps us with rankings. That helps us with listenership, all that stuff. Really appreciate the support for 2-for-1 Drafts. Go to Apple Podcasts, leave your review. But that's going to do it. We're going to now go and jump to interviews with Mississippi State running back Kylin Hill and LSU linebacker Jabril Cox. Now joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is former Mississippi State running back Kylin Hill. Kylin, I know you're out there in Frisco, Texas, training with Exos. How are things going, man?
Man, everything going very well. I can't wait to my pro day. I'm very excited to show people what I can do. Like I said, very excited. Been training with a lot of guys, next level. I'm just ready to go.
When is your pro day?
March 24th.
Gotcha. And who you been working out with? What other prospects have you been working out with down there at Exos?
Running backs or just any prospect?
Any of the guys you've been working with, who's in your workout group?
I'm working out with guys like Jamar Chase, Jalen Darley, Rondell, just guys like that. I like to compete with them guys. They're next level to me. So when I get to compete with them guys, I know I'm close to them.
Yeah, we've had Jalen Darden and Rondell Moore on this podcast. Rondell, that guy is a workout machine, dude. That guy is insane.
He's a real free athlete, no doubt in mind, no doubt.
Dude, that guy's been squatting like 600 pounds since he was like 17 or some crazy shit. Like that guy is unreal, dude, unreal. But what drills specifically are you kind of prioritizing? I know you're working on everything. Everyone's working on everything as they kind of prepare for their pro days. But are there any drills that you're kind of like specifically prioritizing, ones you kind of have circled that you really have to nail at your pro day coming up?
No, I feel very confident through the drill. Going with my position coaches and everything. They're very confident. They told me that I'm really ready to go. If I can have a pro day right now, I'll ace it. Basically, just been going over my 40 time. I want to run real fast and show people that I can run fast.
And what weight did you play at this past season? I think you're listed at 5'11", 215. What weight did you play at this past season? And are you working to a new weight based off maybe NFL feedback or whatever it may be?
Yeah, this year I only played in 2 games, but the 2 games I played in, I was around 208.
And then what are you working to a new weight? Do you want to be at 215? Do you want to stay in that 205, 210 range? Or are there any specific weights you're kind of gaining or aiming for?
No, not really. 208, I feel like I'm very quicker. I'm very, explosive. I felt good, especially in the LSU Kentucky game. I felt very good. Didn't feel sluggish at all. Just felt like myself.
I kind of want to go back to the 2019 season. I think that's really, he had 242 carries, 1,350 yards, 10 touchdowns in that season. That's really where you kind of had a ton of opportunity to show what you had. And there was a lot of reason to kind of enter the draft of that season, not decide to come back to Mississippi State, but you did decide to come back and all those things. But back in 2019, do you feel like that's when you really kind of broke out, where opportunity kind of met the threshold or the skill set that you did have? Talk to me more about that 2019 season and all that went into it.
Yeah, the season before that, 2019 season, I feel like I was going to break out then. But, the injury bug, it is what it is, part of the game. But like you said, 2019, I feel like dealing with Coach Moorhead, he tell me all the time it was my year. I stepped up to the challenge. I took it, and I did what I did. Very blessed. I feel like I showed a lot of people that I can run between the tackles, and I did that. I put it on display.
And so I think the big strength for me that stands out, and it's kind of what's listed in PFF's draft guide, is that explosiveness, that ability to kind of stop, start, get out of your breaks, shoot out of a cannon. And I think that translates a ton to being able to break tackles, having contact balance and those things. Do you feel like, you put the scouting hat on, do you feel like your biggest strength or what separates you is that explosiveness and that force missed tackle ability? Or is there something else that really separates you in this running back class?
Yeah, I feel like you're right on key with it. And also I feel like what separates me and my route running, a lot of people only see me run swings, slants, but while I was in the Leach offense, I had a lot of routes, crossing routes. I even had curl routes, any deep post routes. I had a lot of opportunities to show. I feel like my route running is what's going to separate me from a lot of running backs lining up in the slot and displaying my hands that I got.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to see more of that because even in, only playing a handful of games this past season, you had 27 targets, 23 receptions, and 234 yards. Like if you were playing that entire season or in a non-COVID-19 kind of impacted season, I'm sure it would have been a kind of a 60, 70 target type of year where we really got to see you, work those hands. Did you have, plans when you were working with the Mike Leach offense and those things to run a lot of routes outside of the backfield in the slot and those things?
Yeah, during practice, while I was there with Mike Leach, most of my drills I did was with wide receivers. I line up with the receivers. Being with Coach Spur, the receiver coach, he showed me a lot of things. Great coach. Working on my releases, working on my hands, coming out the ball. So a lot of linebackers aggressive. They don't want us to get out the ball because we already had the advantage. So I took everything he taught me and put it in my game.
And talk to me more about, in your time at Mississippi State, what all went into, your preparation from a film perspective. When you're turning on the film and preparing for an upcoming opponent, what are you looking for from the defense to kind of pick up and factor into your game, whether that's tendencies, alignment, how they blitz, those things? What are you looking for on film from an opposing defense as you prepare for each team each week? Yeah,
especially in the SEC, a lot of people play man. And to me, what we do, man, my coach, we look up what's the percentage of the time they're blitzing, like on third, first, what's the percentage of it? Most of the time it's low. But for me, I look at how individual players, how they're tackling, or they're aggressive low hitters. Because I'm very big weighted, so a lot of DBs like to hit me in my legs. They will not use my guy get the ability to jump off them just a little bit.
Gotcha. And then how has that film preparation kind of changed this offseason? Are you watching a lot more film on yourself, looking back at that 2019 season maybe? Or are you watching, guys in the NFL? Are you watching other running backs in the NFL to kind of pattern your game after?
I do both. I watch my 19 film compared to even though I played 2 guys compared, I see the big change. And I always tell myself, I wish I could have kept playing. I put up so people can know. I feel like a lot of people are asleep, but it's for me to wake them up. But also being in the Senior Bowl allowed me to show a lot of coaches and even gave me the advantage to learn quicker and see the preparation how the NFL comes. But with just watching players, I watch a lot of Alvin Kamara, the way the Saints use him. I love the way they put him in the slot, let him take advantage of everything he does. Very underrated player coming into the NFL, and he turned out to be one of the best backs in the league right now.
All right, I have to ask you, every time I talk to someone who's kind of worked with Mike Leach or played for Mike Leach, got to give me a good Mike Leach story. When I talked to Gardner Minshew, he gave me like 2 or 3 when he was coming out of Washington State like three years ago or whatever it was. He told me like 2 or 3 stories that he said off the record. But I'd love to hear something you got that you can tell the people about Mike Leach.
Man, a real character. The first time I say the first practice, we out here practicing. He just automatic walks on the field with his headphones, man. He got the old headphones. He got him on the phone. He's just jamming. You think he not paying attention. As soon as you drop a ball or anything, he's on you. He's on you.
That's funny, man. Old headphones. We got to get Mike Leach some AirPods. It's time. It's time to get Mike Leach some AirPods.
He say he loved the chords, man.
That's insane. That's awesome, man. Well, I'd love to finish with this one. I ask a lot of the guys this question is why do you pursue the game at the level you do? What, make the sacrifices to play in college football and also pursue the NFL, do all that you have to do to play this game, and why you love football?
Basically, it was born in me. I picked up football at a very early age. My father played football. I'm very motivated by my mother. She sacrificed a lot for me, myself, and my grandmother also. So basically, I'm just self-motivated and just really want to make my family proud and just, one day retire and then one day.
Perfect, man. Well, I really appreciate you setting aside the time, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Now joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is former LSU, North Dakota State off-ball linebacker, coverage guru. That's what PFF knows you as. You were one of the best coverage players in all of the country this past year, and even going back to your time in North Dakota State. I know you're right now based in Miami training for your upcoming pro day. How are things going down there?
It's going great. Just out here, just competing, getting better each day, and just working towards pro day, March 31st.
I know you're probably on a strict diet. I get that. But have you had any opportunities to eat some of the food down in Miami? It's underrated because people bring up the girls, the beaches, the clubs, Pitbull. The food in Miami is damn good. The Cuban food, all that stuff. Have you had any opportunities?
Right, exactly. No, I haven't really been able to test the Miami lifestyle. It's been strict timeline that I've been on. But maybe later on I'll be able to after pro day.
That's what you need, man. Your pro day is on March 31st. Talk to me about, what you're doing to prepare for that. I know it's a mix of everything, preparing for drills, trying to get down to certain weights and all that stuff. But are there any drills specifically where it's like you're saying, this is where I really got to show up. This is where I can really show NFL teams that I could stand out among the rest?
Yeah. While I've been here, I've been doing a lot of bag drills. Those are things that a lot of teams want to see, just contact, point of contact, just continue to develop that. And also in coverage, doing my drops, linebacker drops, DB drops, just every day, just honing that craft.
So, when Mike and I are studying prospects, we look at linebackers specifically. Depending on the scheme you're playing in, you're asked to do a lot of different things in coverage. And you specifically, talk to me about the role you were put in at LSU and like the common drops that you had in coverage at LSU.
Right, at LSU, I was asked to cover a lot of the time the tight end or the running back during my time there. Well, at NDSU, I was asked, to also play in the slot, but I was more the nickel there. So when I got to LSU, it was more of the bigger guys, tight ends, and running backs out in space.
You also had some, an opportunity to go down to the Senior Bowl and really stood out there. How was that experience for you? What did you take from that? How was, receiving feedback from coaches? Kind of what were your key takeaways from that experience at the Senior Bowl?
All right, it was great going down to the Senior Bowl. Going down there, I just wanted to compete, just show the coaches that I'm a competitor. It's something that I love and always just wanted to do. That's the reason why I transferred up, just to compete and just take my game to the next level. But being at the Senior Bowl, I thought each day I wanted to focus on the little details and just continue to build on it and just give the coaches what they wanted.
All right, I want to turn back the clocks a little bit. Obviously, encouraging offseason training down there in Miami, also working down at the Senior Bowl. But, excuse me, your recruiting background is very interesting. You were two-time captain, 3-year starter at Raytown South High School in Missouri. Also a dual-threat quarterback that played receiver, linebacker, safety, and corner throughout high school. 3,100 yards of total offense as a senior, 31 touchdowns. But still, not a lot of FBS offers coming out, ultimately commit to North Dakota State and then transfer to LSU for your final season. One, how insane was it playing all those different positions in high school and having that success? And two, why do you think you just kind of were like unnoticed coming out as a high school student?
Man, I think it was great. Having that many positions played, I think it helped me out, especially now. Being a former quarterback, I'm able to really diagnose and analyze the field a lot more. Being on that side of the ball, then transitioning to defense. But I think just where I'm from, Kansas City, that's a very under-recruited area. A lot of guys go unnoticed, especially with the surrounding schools like KU, MU, K-State. They like to overlook guys and go to guys that either play in Texas, Florida, or Cali, the bigger name type players. But just coming out of high school, I think just being under-recruited really helped me. And then just going to North Dakota State, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made.
You're also a 4-year starter on the basketball team in high school. What kind of basketball player were you? Low post guy, shooter, facilitator? I need to know your game there.
Right, I was more of a slasher. Just one of those guys that you get the ball to me, I'll go and get a bucket.
There you go. That's the best type of basketball player I have on your team. Guy's just going to get a bucket every time you pass the ball. That's the guy I need on my team, honestly. Also, walk me through that decision to transfer to LSU for your final season of eligibility and play for the Tigers.
All right, winning 3 national championships at North Dakota State, I felt that my time there, I've done all I could. I gave my heart and soul to the program. And the next step was either enter the draft or come back and try to test the waters in the portal. So I chose to come back, and once I entered, all the schools came, and then I seen a need at LSU that really benefited me, and I wanted to compete against some of the top players in the nation at the FBS level, and that's what I did.
And I don't bring this a ton up with prospects, but because you did, leave North Dakota State after graduating, you got a degree in psychology with the minor in business. Obviously, 10, 15, 20 years down the road after you're retiring, a future Hall of Famer in the NFL, what went into pursuing that degree, and what were your interests off the field?
I think it's something that it's a pretty broad type of degree, so I can go into many different fields that need it, that definitely can contribute to it. So just having that in my back pocket, I'm able to venture off into many things after I'm done with football. So that's why I chose something so broad.
Versatility in a degree is massive, especially when you're trying to, iron out specifically what road or what path you want to go down. I agree with that. Something that PFF sees in your game, and you kind of saw it at LSU, you obviously saw it at North Dakota State, and even at the Senior Bowl, is that you're a very smooth athlete, and that translates to, very good coverage ability, specifically at off-ball linebacker when your roles are a little bit different than playing outside corner and those things. That's how PFF sees one of your biggest strengths in your game. But you put the scout hat on and tell me what you feel like really separates you in this linebacker class, what you feel like your biggest strength is.
Yeah, right. I feel like my versatility, the way I can play corner, play on the ball, rush the passer. I can play all three phases of the defense, run, pass, and just continue to have that on the field. That's something that you need within the NFL, especially with this new day and age with it being a pass-happy league. You need somebody that can cover and also stop the run when needed. So I think that's what really helps me.
What was some of the feedback? Because I know at the Senior Bowl, I think you guys had a lot of opportunities to work with obviously the coaches down there on site, but also some Zoom interviews with different, members of each team. What was some of the feedback you got about your game from those guys?
Yeah, from them, they loved how I'm just an athletic guy. They wanted to see me just use my hands a lot more, and that's something that I continue to do throughout the 3 days at practice down at the Senior Bowl, and just show them how I can really just get off blocks and just continue to develop in that way.
What weight did you play at this past season at LSU, and do you have any feedback or a goal weight that you want to play at in the NFL?
At LSU, I played at 235. Just my weight is 235 plus. I'm comfortable at 240 if need be, if I have to gain weight. But just around the 235 range, that's where I've been mostly playing at.
Yeah, which is awesome. And you spoke to, the NFL pass-happy league. Linebackers no longer have to be 250, 255. Now, you could be in that 230, 235 range and still be really successful playing that second level of the defense. I've talked to guys who teams have said they had their linebackers play at like 215, like getting that low to be athletic, to be faster in coverage and those things. Walk me through a given game week at LSU and what you do exactly to prepare for an upcoming opponent, what you're looking for on film, what you're repping in practice. I'd be interested to know what level of preparation goes into a given game week.
Right, throughout the week, every single day I'm watching film. Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday, I'm cutting up the film within 21 personnel, 12 personnel, depending on the opponent that we have, just their top plays and just getting a head start on them. But just throughout the week, I'm constantly staying after practice, before the scouting report, asking questions, just trying to get a heads up on our opponent. And also after practice, I'm always watching just and what to do better team forward.
And how much has that kind of film preparation changed in the offseason? Are you watching a lot of film on yourself? Or are you watching film on NFL guys? What exactly are you looking for on film now?
Yeah, it's mostly what I did bad, or could improve on the following season, and how I can develop that throughout. But also watching NFL guys, because that's the ultimate goal and the ultimate dream, and just seeing those guys, what they do well, and trying to have that pattern in my game.
And have you watched any film on, like, say, some of the guys you could be going up against? I've talked to some people who are looking at NFL guys they'll be going against, like corners for receivers, etc. Have you looked at some of these tight ends, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, or some of these running backs like Kamara that you might have to go against in coverage?
Oh, yes. I watch those guys all the time. Growing up from Kansas City, I always watch Travis Kelce. So just seeing just the things that he's able to do, and just being amazed by that. It really is a challenge, and it's something that I just love to look forward to if I'm able to play in the AFC West.
We can close with this one, Jabril, and I really appreciate the time. I like to ask prospects, what their motivation is to pursue football at the level you have. And you have done it at an insane level in that, obviously not a ton of offers coming out. Go to an FCS school in North Dakota State, win 3 championships with them, and then decide, instead of entering the NFL draft, to do it again at LSU and prove it you could do it with the big dogs in the SEC. What is your motivation? What is your why to kind of go through the sacrifice it takes to play, football at this level and also pursue it in the NFL?
Right. It's to give people hope, especially people back home in Kansas City. Just have them have hope, and just knowing that Jabril can do it, then I can do it. It's something that dreams do come true. That's something that I keep telling people, that you keep working for it. If you really want it, just continue to thrive and just work for it. You'll get it. And I'm right here living out my dream, and I'm just showing everybody that it's really true, and just giving them hope.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate the time, and best of luck moving forward.